You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
What a beautiful day for horses in the morning.
You are listening to the #1 horse podcast in the world. Here's your entertaining look at the horse world and the people in it.
Well, good Thursday morning, everybody. I am Glenn the Geek in Ocala, Florida.
And I am Allison Renborg from Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and you're listening to the monthly Equine Affaire episode of Horses in the Morning on the Horse Radio Network for July 20th. This episode is brought to you by Equine Affaire. Good morning, Horse World.
It's the third Thursday of the month. That means it's time for the Equine Affaire episode, North America's premier equine expo and equestrian gathering.
Well, Allison, it's good to have you back. We love having you here. Of course, the Equine Affaire is every third Thursday of the month. So how long now? Your next one is coming up in Massachusetts in November, right?
Yes, November 9th through 12th, 2023. It's going to be here I know it's probably, 3 months away, but it's going to be here any minute.
Okay, the fact that November is only 3 months away, that's kind of scary.
I know, then it'll be Christmas, and then...
That is kind of scary. So I assume you guys are in full planning mode, and I know we're going to talk about one of the things that you have going in November.
Yes, we are in full planning mode. We're pulling all the details and crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's, and we look like ducks. We're very calm on the surface, but underneath we're paddling like crazy. And then, of course, trying every minute that something gets confirmed, then I'm turning around and figuring out how to promote it all by myself, me. So it's fun.
Well, and you have a spectacular Olympian on as the guest today.
I know. So I had to do the interview without you, and I'm sorry about that, but it was incredible. Yes.
Who's coming up?
It's Steffen Peters of Rave Horse fame. If you guys remember, was it just a couple of years ago, the whole craze of Mopsy, Steffen Peters' horse, dancing to some incredibly good beats, took the world by storm. And so that's who we have on the show today. And he has competed in 5 Olympic Games. And we talked a little bit about Paris 2024 and even Los Angeles 2028. So yeah.
Yeah, and he lives out that way. If I remember right, he lives in California. He
does.
Yeah.
Yep. He and his wife have S. Peters Dressage out there.
I can't wait to hear that interview. He's always a great interview, and you caught him at the end of the day, so he was probably a little more relaxed and not so stressed about getting on the next horse.
Yeah, he was very chill. He was on his couch and we went with the flow. It was nice.
Did you don't have to mention what they are. We'll keep that a secret, but did you talk to him about some of his unusual hobbies?
We did.
Okay,
yes.
Good. I can't wait to hear that too. And you all have to listen to his interview to find out what they are, but they're unusual.
Yes.
There's not too many in the horse world that do his hobbies.
Nope.
Nope.
It was so cool.
And he's one of the pros that are going to be in Ride with the Pro program. Tell us about that.
Yes. So I think we've talked about it on the show, but it's been a while. So Ride with a Pro is, I think, one of the most exciting things about working with an expo, because it gives ordinary riders, like you and me, or drivers, as the case may be, the chance to work with cool people like Steffen Peters. I mean, good grief. So the way that it works is, of course, we have a huge clinic program. We've got clinics going all day, every day at the event. And about half of those have opportunities for horses and riders to actually participate in and receive individual instruction or training from some of our presenters. And it's just a really cool opportunity. I have talked with, during my years with the event, I've talked to people who've ridden in the clinics, and I've talked to the clinicians who do the actual teaching, and everybody loves it. It's really just a fun program, that keeps things fresh for the clinicians. And then, I would give my left arm to get a riding lesson from Steffen Peters, right?
Right.
And so this year, I kind of wanted to touch on the lineup because we have such a cool lineup for this fall. our general training and horsemanship clinicians, we've already been announcing this, so it's not news, but this is the first chance to really share it on the podcast. But it's Mike Major, Julie Goodnight, Jason Irwin, Brandy Lyons, and Chelsea Kennedy. And they're all accepting riders this year. And then we have specific discipline clinicians who are accepting riders like Steffen Peters and Philip Dutton for you eventers out there. Jean McDonald for dressage as well. Greg Robinson for ranch horse versatility. Stacy Gier for driving. I specifically made a note of that because I thought you'd be interested, even though you're not coming. And then, of course, Bronwyn Irwin for pole bending. I mean, we just have a whole, basically, if you ride a horse in any particular discipline, there's an opportunity for you to, apply and maybe get to ride with some of these people. And it's really cool.
You know who I really enjoyed talking to, and I did an interview with him at the last Equine Affaire, but I also ended up talking to him for about an hour after, and we've touched base a couple times since, is Jason and Bronwyn Irwin.
Yes.
They're such a cool couple.
They're a power couple.
Yeah, they definitely are. And they're just the nicest people.
Yes,
really
they're so sweet. They're so sweet. And they're always like, are you okay? How are you doing? And it's like, you feel cared about.
Yes. They're just that way. They really are.
Yeah.
I always say we like to hire hosts that are huggable, and they fit that criteria. They're just like huggable, It's like, it's funny, but that describes them.
That's a great... Can I put huggable on my LinkedIn?
Yeah, you can put that on
skill?
on your LinkedIn skills.
Okay.
Yeah, there should be one actually.
I think it should be.
Maybe not after a pandemic, but
in a post-COVID world,
yes.
There is huggable an asset. That's the next article.
So anybody coming can ride with one of. Do you have to have your own horse? How's all that work?
Yeah, you do have to have your own horse, and you do have to apply ahead of time. So.
Okay.
The way it works is that you visit our website, and we will put the link in the show notes because the applications will be live by the time of the show. By the time you're listening to this, there will be application materials. And so you'll need to fill out the application. You have to provide a written description of you and your horse's history and training and riding experience. And then some of our clinicians like to see video, and that'll be in the summary on the website. So you'll know if you need to film a video. And it doesn't have to be anything super fancy. Get your trainer or your friend to get your cell phone out, plant their feet and take a video of you. You don't have to hire a videographer. And so you apply by September the 8th. So we have lots of time. The application fee per clinic this year, it used to vary, but this year it's a flat fee. It's $105. And that includes participating in the clinic, admission to the event the day of your clinic, 24 hours of stabling, and a free t-shirt.
And if they apply and aren't accepted, they don't owe the fee.
Right.
Okay.
Yes, that gets refunded back to you.
Okay.
And so then we send all the applications to the clinicians. They make their selections. Once we hear back from our clinicians, we notify you whether you were selected or not in early October. And there is a whole timeline leaflet on the website, so you don't have to wonder oh my gosh, it's October the 2nd and I haven't heard anything. You will hear something regardless of what happens. And so, and that's the process.
Very good. And now, is it vary how many get to be in each one? Yeah,
typically. So part of the details that I mentioned earlier today that we're still ironing out are we talk to each clinician. We find out how many riders do you want per clinic? Are you looking for anything specific? I think that's the cool thing is you don't have to be a top level rider to ride in one of these clinics. You might have a specific problem that you're working with or your horse might be working with that a clinician actually wants you to have. So maybe it's you can't pick up the left lead or you're always messing up your half pass or whatever it may be. Sometimes they're looking for specific problems and all that information will be on the website and you can go, oh, hey, I have this problem and they want me. And then all levels are welcome to apply, just make sure you're comfortable riding in front of a crowd because you're riding in front of a crowd because you're at Equine Affair.
That's right. Especially Massachusetts.
Yeah. That's the only, thing. It's like, oh, do you want to ride in the Coliseum? Well.
Well, and of course, a little bit later in a few minutes, we're going to be talking to Steffen Peters, Olympian, who is one of those people you can ride with. But first, we're going to be talking to the sponsor of this particular segment of Equine Affaire, and her name is Kimberly Chick, and she is with Fairhill Saddlery, and I'm pretty sure I've been to Fairhill Saddlery a time or two. And I also did want to remind everybody, tickets for Equine Affaire in Massachusetts are now on sale at equineaffaire.com. Go online today to purchase general admission tickets and tickets to Fantasia, Equine Affaire's musical celebration of the horse, and make your plans to join us at Eastern States Expo in West Springfield, Massachusetts, November 9th through the 12th. It's the 25th anniversary of Equine Affaire in Massachusetts, and we're pulling out all the stops to make it an extra special party. And one of the companies helping to do that is Fairhill Saddlery. Kimberly, it's so nice to have you on the show. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited for this.
This is bringing back a lot of memories, Kimberly, because I grew up in central Pennsylvania, and I'm a horse husband, so I met my wife, who was a pony clubber and an eventer. And, of course, one of the places we had to get up at 2 in the morning to head to from central Pennsylvania was Fairhill for all of the events down there. So I have fond and not so fond memories of Fairhill as a horse husband.
Absolutely.
And I remember because I was so new. This is 35, almost 40 years ago now. I was so new to the horse thing, and then of course I am dating this eventer who jumps big jumps, and that was just terrifying as a new horse husband. It really was.
I bet. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I also worked, with Bitter Britain and down in that area a lot, and we lived in Elkton, where Fairhill Saddlery is right outside of Elkton. So, and the Fairhill Saddlery is fairly new, right?
It is. We just opened November of 2019, right at the beginning of the pandemic, actually.
I was just going to say, there's good timing for you.
Great timing. Yay.
It was. I mean, we launched our website, kind of hurried, in a fast way, faster than we had kind of anticipated. But we were very lucky because we sell hay, feed, and bedding. We were able to stay open. So we were able to just start growing almost immediately. And we're very, the pandemic was devastating for so many, but it almost was a blessing to us because we were able to work in our community and keep our, all of our horsemen in our area afloat. I don't know. I have a little story about that. We decided to do a horseman's relief fund. So through COVID, if a horseman was in need, we gave back 10% of purchases that were kind of made under that trainer's name. We gave it back in cash so they could use it however they needed to feed, hay, bedding, equipment, supplies, vet bills. Just as horsemen, we were all struggling through the pandemic. So in a way to give back, we developed that program at the store, and it was a huge success to our local community.
That's fantastic, especially being that you were so new too. That you were able to do that is really cool. And then you guys now, I mean, you've been traveling to shows. We're talking about Equine Affaire and what you're sponsoring up there, but you've been all over the place, right? And then luckily, right in your backyard, they dumped a 5-star event.
It was unreal. We say it's divine intervention. 3 or 4 days after we signed the sales paper for the 35 acres that the store is on, they announced that Fairhill was selected for the 5-star. So it was like the ink was still drying on the paperwork. And then they just dumped this magnificent event in our backyard, which is 2 miles almost to a T from our doorstep.
Oh, wow.
So we're super lucky. Yeah.
Wow, that's fantastic. And you know what? There was always stores down around there, but nothing really like next door.
Correct. And nothing, everybody's done a great job, and we're grateful for the support that they've given the community through the years. But we're almost 10,000 square feet of shopping, and we cover almost all the major disciplines you could think of. So it's becoming kind of a shopping mecca for our area. And we have people that are driving 4 to 6 hours to come shop with us just because of the selection that we have.
Well, congratulations. Wow. That's fantastic. That
Thank
is
you.
really cool. I'm always loved, we had our own tack business too. So I know what starting a tack business is like. And I know that a lot of them have gone out of business in the last 3 or 4 years. And here you are brand new and you're killing it. I love that.
We're trying. We're trying.
So now you guys decided to sponsor something at Equine Affaire, and you chose Ride with a Pro. Why did you choose that particular program to sponsor?
Well, the teaching and working with riders and developing them and their skills is very near to me. I'm an educator by trade. I have a master's degree in education. So anytime there's learning involved, it kind of piques my interest, and I try to find a way to be part of it because I believe in teaching and developing people. So when I saw the Ride with a Pro, and after watching it last year at Equine Affaire, we selected that as the program to sponsor just because I believe in rider education and rider growth in that way.
And that's personal to you because you're a rider, right? Tell us a little bit about your riding experience.
Oh, goodness. I started at a young age in Pony Club. And at that time, Pony Club wasn't as flexible as it is now. So when the jumps, started getting too big for me and my pony to see to the other side, I left. So I was 8th grade, I believe, when I left. And then I started showing in the hunter equitation world and competed on the circuit all the way through my adult amateur years. And then in 2005, I was hired by Delaware State University, which is the first HBCU in the nation to offer Division I equestrian as a sport. So I coached that team for three years, and then have just stayed a coach and a trainer. And now I'm the DC of my pony club that I was in as a child, and am helping develop those new riders. And I'm lucky that my oldest and youngest are also members of the Pony Club. So trying to pass the torch and continue that love of horse knowledge and care and riding and, instilling those Pony Club values that I feel are key to developing good horsemen. So, the education part is huge for me. So, yeah.
Well, that's incredible. And you're so integrated in your industry, which I think you almost have to be if you're going to start a new tack business, especially with the timing that happened to you. You have to be integrated and have your fingers on the pulse of the industry, and you clearly do. So that's really cool.
Yeah, thank you. I really am focused on safety with rider safety. So I do a lot of work with different organizations to do helmet training and education, safety vest training and education. I do a lot of Zoom calls with just anybody who needs support fitting helmets and vests. There's a lot of people who live in areas that don't have a physical tack shop that they can go to. Right. So my name has been passed around, and I get a lot of calls to do Zoom. So we go over helmet fit and check the fit, and I work with people whenever, because not only do I believe in education, but I also believe in safety. So it's one of those things that I'm trying to help the industry grow in that safety knowledge.
Well, and that's really admirable, because I can't tell you how often we'll see pictures on social media, right, of people wearing helmets, and if your helmet is the least bit not correctly fitted, someone's going to comment and it's going to be talked about. And you see a lot of that. You see a lot of sloppy helmet use, and it's great that you're wearing it. Great job. Wear the helmet, but can we fine tune it a little bit so that it actually protects your head?
Yeah, absolutely. And for Pony Club, I'm on the National Safety Committee to just help broaden that awareness. And at any event that I'm at with Pony Club, I do the helmet fit checks and, do some education as fast as I can, because my husband came from the Western side of the industry, and they don't wear helmets like we do on the English side. So he still is like, oh, just get a helmet and you're good to go. And I'm like, no, there's a process. And like with our own children, I'm very particular about what I put on their head. We had multiple concussions as a child before, the helmet standards really grew. I don't want that for somebody else. So any chance I get to do some helmet education and safety education, I dive right in, probably more than I should.
That's okay, because you're also one selling them. So, I mean, I'm glad that you are that conscious about it.
Yeah.
Well, where can people buy your products online?
Absolutely. Our website is fairhillsaddlery.com. Super easy.
Fairhillsaddlery.com. And of course, if you're going to Fair Hill, what is it in October? The 5-star?
The 5-star is the third week of October. Yep.
If you're going there, you'll see Fair Hill Saddlery there. And of course, you guys are going to be at Equine Affaire too?
Absolutely. We're going to be in 2 spots. And remember the names of the 2 buildings, but we're going to be in 2 separate buildings. One is going to be all of the deals that we had last year. So lots of great shopping, good Christmas gifts, lots of clothing. And then our other, which I believe maybe the young building, if I'm correct, is going to be where we're going to bring a slew of helmets, a slew of safety vests, footwear, and some higher end clothing to kind of meet the needs that we heard from customers last year. They were looking for certain items, and we said, you know what, we got you for next year. So we're going to be bringing up all the good stuff this year.
Kimberly's not an overachiever. She's going to have 2 booths at Equine Affaire.
Yes. That's incredible.
Let's open our business and 3 years later just take over the place. I
mean, go big or go home, right?
Yeah.
Agree.
I'm very proud of you. At a time when everybody is getting out, you got in and you're making it work. So good job. It is fairhillsaddlery.com, right?
Yes, that's it. Perfect.
Thanks for joining us. Bluegrass Animal Products Equiotic is a live daily probiotic supplement for your horse. Equiotic is the only probiotic sourced from horses' good gut bacteria. This allows the good gut bacteria to survive in the GI tract. Veterinarian developed and recommended, Equiotic is trusted by horse professionals to keep their horses feeling the best. From the top competition horse to the backyard companion, Equiotic can help to keep your horse's sensitive GI tract feeling good. To learn more and order Equiotic today, go to bluegrassanimalproducts.com and use the coupon code HRN for 15% off Equiotic packets and paste. Equiotic is also available at many retailers, including SmartPak and Chewy, but the coupon HRN is only available at bluegrassanimalproducts.com.
Steffen Peters has competed in 5 Olympic Games as a member of the USA equestrian team and countless other high-level dressage competitions, and his fame in the horse industry as a dressage rider is well established. In 2021, Steffen and his horse Mopsy rode to fame outside the horse industry thanks to Steffen's incredible music choices and Mopsy's smooth dance moves as, you guessed it, Rave Horse. Do yourselves a favor and rewatch Mopsy's #RaveHorse video while I get the chance to chat with Steffen about all kinds of cool stuff. So let's welcome Steffen to the show. Well, hi, Steffen. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Sure, my pleasure. Always good to talk to the Equine Affaire.
Yes, sir. So Kogi was telling me that this is your 11th Equine Affaire with us this fall.
Oh, wow. I didn't even know that. That's great.
Yeah.
Time flies, but you have a good time. So that's great.
Right. Like our event in Massachusetts is turning 25 this fall. So we're having a big party to celebrate that. And so it's really fun that not only is it our 25th, but you'll have been with us for like close to half of those, which is crazy.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
That is great. Yeah.
So we're here to talk about horses, obviously, and I have all kinds of horsey questions for you, but I wanted to ask you first about your glider obsession. Do you have a thing for gliders?
Yeah, pretty much anything with wings. I just, even when I'm on a horse and very focused, if there's an airplane above, we live pretty close to Miramar, Fighter Town. I mean, I always have to take a look. So quite fascinated with airplanes in general.
And then your gliders, they're not the type that you go up in. They're the type you remote control from the ground, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, they're quite large gliders. I have one that's little bit over 10 meters of wingspans, 30 feet. And we tow them up with gas-powered airplanes, and then we just look for where birds circle, find some thermals, in other words, some warm air, and keep those things airborne for about 2.5 hours.
And so
it's very relaxing.
Does it have a camera on it?
Usually what we do when we record some videos for a YouTube channel, we fly drones behind, above, and underneath the gliders, and we record video footage that way. But yes, we can put cameras inside of them.
Wow. And so are you in the airplane or are you on the ground?
I'm on the ground.
Okay.
Because the reason for that is I love any aesthetics of an airplane. And if I make a mistake with the remote control, most likely I'll survive that.
Yes, we want that.
In a glider. Yeah. And I enjoy being in a glider myself. It's a big sport in Germany. And when I'm over there in the summer, I do fly some gliders with a experienced pilot. But I honestly enjoy watching the airplanes more than being inside of them.
That's so cool. Where my parents live, they were sort of out in the country down south in Tennessee, and we see a lot of small airplanes and small biplanes, and we see a manned glider go over quite often, and my mom calls him Birdman.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about that when I read about you having gliders, but that's fun. And so you said anything winged. So are you a bird watcher too?
Any large birds, for sure, when they find some thermals over our property, it is just very, very beautiful to watch. It looks very effortless. There's a lot of flow in their life, and that's what I enjoy so much. Anytime I'm myself in the flow stage, it's a really neat feeling. Time goes away, and thinking becomes very easily. And, so many people call us adrenaline junkies, but that's definitely not the case. I'm a flow junkie.
And when you're saying flow, are you just thinking about like literally going with the flow, or are you talking about something else?
Yeah, literally going with the flow.
Okay.
It's something that I learned over the years. Life has so many variations, and if we resist that, it's never a good thing. We block so much energy. But if we go with the flow and with all the ups and downs of life, life is quite enjoyable.
Yeah. So sort of maintaining a calm center and staying steady no matter what happens.
Exactly. It's something that I had to learn, and something that I learned a little bit too late, but at least I learned it.
Well, yeah, I would say that I'm trying to learn it. I'm trying to learn it myself. It's really hard. Sometimes I can do that, and then other times I'm just like pulled every which way all the time. But then I think, man, a couple of weeks ago I was really calm and going with it, and today I'm just not.
Yeah. It's I find it so important to give our mind a time out. It's just like, to me, like any other muscle, it needs to rest. And I always thought, with so many competitions and constantly showing and back and forth to Europe, that this is how it's always going to be. But my mind told me very quickly, and my body told me, hey, we're not doing that anymore. You're almost 60. So there is that time for some serious meditation and some serious time out.
Yeah, and that kind of flows really nicely into what I was kind of thinking, which is that you have competed in 5 Olympic Games.
Yeah.
And so many other intense high-level competitions. I can't imagine living with that kind of stress all the time without finding that coping mechanism. So how do you take care of your mental health when you're competing and when you're flying, like you were talking about from here to Europe and all of that? Is that whole going with the flow, is that part of it?
Yes, that's definitely going with it. And my biggest challenge during the competition was always sleeping. I wasn't a good sleeper. And anytime I woke up, I got somewhat irritated that I only have an hour or two left to get some sleep.
Mm-hmm.
That can't be enough for the show. So just the whole thing that I worried about not sleeping and worried about so many things was very destructive. I mean, it was very counterproductive. So this whole idea of competing and training and getting an equal amount of rest, that's something that my body told me very seriously. And I finally learned to listen.
Well, good. And it took you, 60 years, 58 years? How long?
Well, it was never a problem until about 5 or 6 years ago.
Got it.
And then I noticed, just like what you said before, stressful situations lingered. And, I wasn't able to calm down quickly enough. And it's part of growing old. The braking mechanism, the parasympathetic nervous system is just not as strong anymore. So I had to make some serious adjustments. And one big adjustment for the shows was not being afraid of failing anymore. I was always deathly afraid of not doing well enough for my team or for my sponsors, for our country. And I'm much, much more at ease when things don't go well, because I know going into the competition, I did absolutely my very best to prepare myself mentally and physically. And because of that, I have to be 100% okay with the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
So when there was a disappointment, and thank God there were very few, it still hurts, but I don't allow it to hurt longer than half an hour or 45 minutes, versus years ago where it would linger on for days. And then not sleeping on top of that, of course, that can create a ton of anxiety. And I've been very open about dealing with anxiety and slowly figuring out that living with anxiety is like going with the flow. The second you start to fight it and you try to do so much about it, it usually gets worse.
Yes.
So this whole idea of being in the flow of life is working quite nicely.
Well, good. I love that I love everything you just said, and I love how open you're being about it, because I know that I beat myself up when I fail, and I fail on a much, much smaller stage than you. But I like that you put a limit on it, that it's a half hour, 45 minutes. I'm going to be upset. I'm going to cry. I'm going to scream, whatever. But then it's over and I'm done.
Exactly. Yeah. That is the $1 million question, when for anything that happens in life. I mean, it's only human to react, especially to some negative situations and some sad situations. But the $1 million question is, how long do we react? And that is, again, something I learned and read so many wonderful books about, life in general. And one of my favorite books is The Untethered Soul. And it's just absolutely fascinating. I read it about 5 times.
Oh, wow.
And by the 5th time, I finally got the picture.
So how does that change in your mindset and in your kind of the way that you are? How has that affected your relationship with your horses and how you ride? And have you noticed a difference in how your horses react to you?
Well, I've always been very patient with my horses, but I've never been very patient with myself.
Mm-hmm.
And just being a little bit more lighthearted and kinder to myself, without the crazy workouts. I still work out every day, but not as intense anymore. So I think my horses never really felt when there was a ton of anxiety that I brought on. In fact, in Tokyo, I don't think I've ever been more nervous than the Olympic Games in Tokyo. But it was one of my best performances ever. So,
well, yes.
I was very happy that even though I didn't feel very good, it turned out wonderfully. And bringing the silver medal home from Tokyo was so rewarding. It meant so much to me. So anything from there on still means a lot, but it felt like there was some destiny in Tokyo that felt really wonderful. And I can't still put this really 100% in words, what my emotions were like when we got the silver.
I can't imagine how it must have felt. And then that, to prepare for this interview, of course, I went back and rewatched the videos from Tokyo, and I'm sure Rave Horse had to watch that a few times. Of course, I watched it when it happened, but when you rewatch that, or do you rewatch that, and do you think, oh man, I was so anxious, or do you just think, wow, look at Mopsy having a huge, great time?
Yeah, now I look back at only of the positive emotions, the positive feeling from it, and the fact that Mopsy had 70 million Google searches, and that the dressage horse all of a sudden became into the mainstream. That is absolutely fantastic. And from there, getting a phone call from the Kevin Hart and Snoop Dogg show, I mean, all those things were just absolutely incredible, and all of that because of a horse and horses.
Well, that and your music choices. But so I don't think I knew. So they called you. They had tell me about that. Kevin Hart and Snoop Dogg called you?
Yeah, the producer of Kevin Hart called me, and she said, Steffen, the Rave Horse is a huge hit, and Kevin and Snoop Dogg, they've seen it, and we were wondering if you can bring Mopsy into the studio here in Bourbon. And I said, I think that's a great idea, because Mopsy is 18-2 hands, and to put Kevin Hart on Mopsy would be just a really, really awesome picture. So unfortunately, they called their insurance and they said, no, absolutely not.
Oh, no.
Yeah, we can't do that. But the way we left it is that Kevin was supposed to come down here to Arroyo and sit on Mopsy. But, I might now, thinking about this, I might give the producer another call and see what we can do.
You should. I want to see. Yes. Everyone wants to see that picture, but
yes,
because Kevin Hart he's short. He's 5'4". Yeah. What is he? Do you know?
At the very most, yes.
Yeah. And of course, Mopsy is 18.2 hands, so he's gigantic.
Exactly.
So that would be hilarious. You should definitely call him and get that done.
Very good.
That's amazing. And so speaking of Mopsy, which by the way, I didn't know I looked up his nickname, and it means chubby. It's a word for chubby, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yes. So I think it's hilarious that a horse nicknamed Chubby basically had, you said, 7.2 million Google searches or whatever. I love it.
Actually, 70 million.
Okay. 70 million. Yes.
Yeah.
So a horse named Chubby, 70 million.
Chubby. Yeah, exactly.
I love it. So how is he today? What's going on with Mopsy these days?
Well, we decided after the World Cup, Akiko and Debbie McDonald and the director of dressage, we all sat down and we decided that there's no need to send Mopsy to Europe this year. It'd be really amazing if he could qualify for the Olympic Games in Paris next year. He'll be 16 at that time. And we decided it'd be a much better idea to take it easy during the summer, keep working, keep training, but not at a high competitive level. So we're going to pick it up again in November for our amazing West Coast international shows and dive all the way into the selection trials.
Wow. Okay. So he's getting the summer off and then back to work.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's great. I love that.
As you know, it's not so much just the competition, but traveling to Europe, that's never easy on a horse. And even though he's a good traveler, we still see a little bit that that it takes a toll on them for the first 4 or 5 days. So making sure that he doesn't have to go through that this year makes me feel very good.
I bet, because I think they did a lot of pieces. I remember a lot of talk in the media about flying the horses to Tokyo and how big a production that was and how hard it was on the horses and the people. But yeah, you fly horses all over the world, you're going to see an effect, especially when you guys are working at such a high level. So I applaud you guys for making that decision for him.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Well, so you're going to be competing on the West Coast this fall, and I was hearing that we're having a lot more high-level dressage competitions out west. And so it sounds like more dressage competitors won't have to migrate to Florida as much. Is that right? Is that a good evaluation of the situation? Are you excited about that?
Yeah, that's a perfect evaluation. We have 3 additional international shows here at a completely remodeled facility with a large covered arena, amazing footing. Millions of dollars were put into the renovation.
Wow.
The grand opening is here on July 15.
Oh, wow.
And we're looking forward to have the shows there. The jumpers are going to be there already during the summer. We actually have a national show there in late July, and we're super excited because it is literally 10 minutes away from our farm.
Oh, that's so exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. It's great. So, and again, it depends on our federation. If they'd like to see us compete at the Nations Cup or at the 5-star CDI in Florida, then, I would certainly, if it's mandatory, I would certainly show up. But the good thing is it's so exciting to have this facility and this show organizing committee here.
Yeah, definitely. And then obviously we have Paris Olympics in 2024, and then 2028, the Olympics will be in Los Angeles. Is that exciting for you that it's going to be so close?
Yeah, that's very exciting. But let's keep in mind, I'll be 60 next year. And in Los Angeles, I'll be 64.
Right.
So, that's not a really good excuse not to take part. But, again, I'll go with the flow. If my body still feels like it can do that, I know mentally I'm in a much better place to deal with it and to enjoy it more. And if the right horse is in place at that time, then yes, of course, I'd be more than happy to compete in LA. Yeah. But it did cross my mind after possibly 6 Olympic Games next year to, to look a little bit more towards retirement from the international competition. It's not so much retiring in general, but, just from the international show scene.
Yeah, and I certainly understand that. And I wasn't going to bring this up, but I saw the term, what was the oldest medalist?
Right.
Oldest, right. I saw that term tossed around a lot, and I was like, oh, I'm sure he loves to hear that. But
you know what? Honestly, I'm okay with it. I'm just super excited that I can still keep up with a lot of riders that are half my age.
Yes.
I take physical fitness very seriously. I swim every morning, and I've taken very good care of my body over the years. Mm-hmm. Just didn't take very good care of my mind, and that's clearly changing now as well.
Right. Well, let's think positively. We're going to think positively that we might see you in 2028 in LA.
Right.
I like that idea. But go with the flow.
Clearly I would say why not? Yeah, I would clearly say why not? Yes. Exactly.
So circling around to this fall, which I realize November, when you're in Massachusetts with us, you'll have been competing right in the middle of competing and trying to qualify, right? So how's your fall going to look?
I think we're going to have the first CDI late November. It's either a week before or a week after Thanksgiving. So
oh my goodness.
We're good at that time, and then just possibly a few national shows before, and then the requirements for the Olympic Games are 3 international competitions. At two of them, we have to do the Grand Prix and the Grand Prix Special. And at one of them, we have to do the Grand Prix and the Grand Prix Freestyle.
Okay. So we'll see you right before your show in late November. So
exactly.
Maybe will be a nice break for you.
Yes, there you go. Exactly.
Yeah. So what's your favorite thing about presenting at an expo like Equine Affaire? Is there something you just are really looking forward to about it?
Yeah, there's two things. I think it doesn't matter what type of rider, what type of horse, if the rider wants to learn and if the horse is in the same shoes and it wants to learn, there's always some improvement that you can make. And, I came from a system where sarcasm and negativity was the daily schedule. I just believe that system is not necessary. I'm not saying that it's wrong, because the Germans bring out a lot of good riders, but even there things have changed and it's not as militant anymore. So that's one of the things that I like to bring across, that no matter what, you can turn any session into something positive. And that's the one thing. And like I mentioned before, you've been very upfront and very open about mental health. And I love to do theory classroom sessions where I talk a little bit about my own experience. And at that time, I don't like to give advice to anyone. I just share simply what I went through and how destructive, single negative thoughts can be, and how repetitive single negative thoughts can be, and how much damage it doesn't just do to your mind, but your entire body. So I'm looking forward to share that with everyone.
I think that's going to be really important to hear, and it's really important for me to hear that. And it's making me think about one of my favorite grad school professors. She would always say, "Garbage in, garbage out." So if you're putting garbage into your mind, if you're thinking these negative things like, "Oh, I'm going to mess up," or "I'm so stupid," or "I'm so whatever," that's what you're going to put out, and then it's like this horrible self-fulfilling prophecy.
Absolutely. And what I've learned over the years, I think when people say thick skin, it's a little bit more like installing a filter when you hear something, when you see something, where you can clearly analyze, do I really need to think about this? Does this really need to enter my brain? Yes, it might enter, but does it need to stay there? Does it really require that much thought? And I've learned that letting go and even being easier with myself is a much, much healthier way of living. I used to take things way too serious. And let's face it, Olympic Games, it's pretty serious business.
Well, a little bit.
Even there, but even there, being lighthearted about it and always extremely supportive for your teammates, that has become my obsession, my goal, and the flow in life.
Yeah. How do you keep it light at the Olympics with your teammates? You mentioned that. So how do you guys keep it light when you're riding on the line?
Look, it's all in the preparation. And I feel when I train every single day, when my horse makes a mistake, that's one thing, but I never compromise when my horse doesn't feel quite light enough in the contact, when my horse is not quite sensitive enough to the leg. So this whole idea of making a horse extremely rideable, that it's 99% in self-carriage, willing to move forward, sideways, willing to come back into a collected gait. When all those basics are working, there's a much, much better chance that it's that you can go through a test without mistakes. And when this rideability, this natural self-carriage is not there, the room for error becomes much, much bigger. So this whole idea of having a horse that's so willing and so rideable and so positive about the work, makes life a whole lot easier and more enjoyable. And it gives you a whole lot more confidence when you come with a horse to the Olympic Games that offers exactly that, what I just talked about.
Yeah. And I imagine keeping your horse light and confident, keeping you light and confident, that just means that everybody feels a little more lighter and a little more confident, even behind the scenes. Yeah.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Yeah.
So this might be the same, you might have the same answer to this question that you just gave, but what is something that you think every dressage rider needs to know or understand about the sport, regardless of whether they're riding at your level or they're riding in their backyard?
Yeah, there's two things. The one that I just mentioned, doing everything we can to get a horse to move forward easily, sideways easily, making a horse extremely supple and making it very adjustable horizontally and vertically. I think that's the one thing, and truly understanding what the contact is all about. That's one thing. And then I like to call it very mindful riding, because it can be a very frustrating sport, because just because a horse did something perfectly the day before, that doesn't mean it's going to do it the next day again. And of course, that can lead to a lot of frustration. And when somebody doesn't ride mindful enough and the frustration takes over, then people can react sometimes a bit aggressive with their horses. And that can be eliminated when fear is not part of riding, and when a horse is truly in self-carriage and does the movements very expressively with very little aiding from the rider. I think that's the essence of the sport, and that's what I'd like to teach every single day. That it's that we're mindful when frustration or fear kicks in, that we take a little breath, take a little time out, and that we, no matter what, that we keep things positive. It is doable.
Absolutely. Well, I love that. I have so much, you've given me so much to look forward to now. Like, I'm hoping I can come and listen into some of your sessions in the middle of rushing around, because I just think you have so much of value to offer. And I know that our audiences are super excited that you're coming. So thank you so much for taking the time today to talk to me on the podcast. I was so excited. So thank you.
My pleasure. Always a pleasure.
So how hard was it for you during that interview not to just be a fangirl?
It was pretty hard. I mean, so in me, fangirling presents itself as extreme anxiety. So I was a nervous wreck all day.
Were you?
And then
I couldn't be there.
All day long. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm interviewing. How am I going to, and I'm like doing research, and I'm chatting with a friend of mine who had sort of an inside. I was like, okay, what should I talk to him about? And he's giving me all these great ideas. So I had some support, and then I kept checking with my husband. I was like, tell me I'm cool. Tell me I can do this, pump me up. So, but then once we got into the interview, I mean, Steffen's such a cool guy, and everything melted away, and it was just fun. And then afterward, I'm like, oh my gosh, I just talked to him for half an hour. Like, what the, and I didn't sound like an idiot. Yay.
Well,
so that's fangirling for me.
I know it is hard when you talk to big names. I've done it so long that I don't think about it anymore. But I remember what it was like.
You're a big name.
No, it's just I don't get as nervous talking to big names now. If you put a big name celebrity like Kaylee Kuko, I might not be able to say a word. So
I just remember, they're just people.
Yeah, they are. They're just
do
people.
Cool things.
And they do cool things, yeah. And I'm glad you got into some of his cool things. I appreciate that, too.
Yes.
I have never done those cool things, so I admire him for that.
Yeah.
Well, how about Equine Affaire? One of the things everybody always looks at about this time when they're planning the trip to Equine Affaire, one is buying tickets, getting their Fantasia tickets in order, and then also what hotel they're going to stay at. And there's usually a recommended list of hotels. Is it on the website yet?
It is on that website.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yes.
Because I always rely on that to book my hotel.
As well you should, and everyone should. We have host hotels that our business manager, Lori, has been chatting with for a while and getting all the deets on that. So if you go to our website, you make sure you're on the Massachusetts event and you go to attend, and then the drop down and you click on host hotels. You'll see a lovely list of host hotels, and Lori even puts the distance from the event in parentheses after each hotel name, so you know exactly how close you're going to be, or how far if that's your jam. And then, of course, we have room blocks and discounted rates at most of the properties. And so when you call, make sure you mention you're with Equine Affaire, and you'll get that discounted rate.
Sounds good. And I know there's a lot of people planning their Christmas shopping already.
Oh, yeah. and now you've got to definitely go by the 2 locations of Fair Hill Saddlery when you come to the event so that you can shop with them and everybody else who's there.
Sounds good. And of course, it's equineaffaire.com. You can check out Equine Affaire on the Facebook page or on the YouTube channel. And you can follow Horses in the Morning. If you want to hear all the past episodes of the Equine Affaire, just go to horsesinthemorning.com. Scroll down to the middle of the page, you'll see the Equine Affaire banner. Just click on that, and it brings you to all the past episodes. And it is, of course, Thursday, so we will be back tomorrow with another episode. I'll have a special guest host because Jamie's off this week, but we'll be doing really bad ads and all the usual stuff. I think Dr. Wendy is joining us tomorrow with her broken leg and all. So
no.
She can't do anything else right now because of her leg surgery. So she's going to be joining me because she has nothing else to do. But we'll be back here tomorrow with that. And Allison, thanks again for another great show.
Thank you, and we'll see you guys all at Equine Affaire.